Welcome back to the channel. So let's start something new. So today we will be going to see how we can integrate Azure Active Directory with the ASP.NET Core Web App. Everything, all these things can be done very simply. It's a very easy step. You just need to follow this step I'm going to follow. Basically, currently I'm trying to, we'll see that how we can integrate Active Directory in an existing ASP.NET MVC web application. So for that, let's create a new application. So I will select ASP.NET Core Web App MVC in the C#. Let me name it something training AD integration. I'm leaving everything as a default. Currently I'm setting .NET 5.0 as a default framework. Let's click on the create. So in a minute, this will create a simple ASP.NET Core Web MVC application. We'll see, okay, here it is. So first thing first, let's try to run the application to see it's working fine. Okay. Just click on the run application. So this will ensure that your application is working fine. Then we'll move to the integrating the Active Directory. Okay, here you see. Look like my application is working fine. It's loading perfectly. Yes. Okay. So let's close this. So the next step and the very first step is to create the app registration. So for that, let's open the Azure portal. Go to portal.azure.com. Log in with your account. So I'm logging with my personal account. For training purpose, I'm using my personal account. I would also advise you, if you are for learning purpose, then go use your personal account, because in that personal account you will have all the full access to the Azure Active Directory. In case if you are using your school applications or if you are using your corporate Azure account, so there are the chances that you don't have access. You may having less privilege to create any application. So I'm using my personal account. I have all the admin right here. Let's log in. If you have enabled the two-step authentication, it will ask for approving. So I'm currently using Windows authenticator. So let me open that authenticator on my phone, do the authentication. Okay, here is my authenticator app. Okay, approve. I'm approving. You just need to match the code. See, I just approve. This is because I have enabled two-step authentication in my Azure account. So that's why it asks for to log in. As for the second factor authentication. Next, go to the Azure Active Directory. Please note here we are going to do the app registration. So once you are logged into your Active Directory, you can see that tenant ID is given here. There are some primary domain. You can use this one, bhargavpandelive.onmicrosoft.com or something. You will get something. Here you can say this is Azure AD free account. Now, if you want, here you can go to the app registration page. Go to the new registration. Create the application name. So I'm going to use the same name which I have already created this one. training AD integration. So I'll make this one TRAI and training AD integration. Do not fill this information as of now. We'll fill up this one. This is also required. So click on the register. So see here, we are done with the app registration. We'll come back here and see because there are some more configuration need to be done. So here you will see that application ID. This is the application ID of my current application, which is training AD integration. So we may be required this value for configuration. This is the tenant ID. If you see that this tenant ID is the same which was earlier I have shown. Let me go see B048. So if you see that, I'm going back to my home page. Active Directory. So if you can recall, this is the same tenant ID. So this tenant ID actually shows your organization ID. Currently, I'm using my personal account. So this is the default tenant ID assigned to my account. Okay, so we are done with the app registration. Go to the app registration. Scroll down here, you would be able to find out all the information. Let's go back to the application. Now the next step. We have to install some NuGet package. Go to the manage NuGet packages and let's install some dependency. Go to the browse tab and select Microsoft Identity.web. Here it is. Click on install. So this will install the Microsoft.identity.web required NuGet component. Accept. Here it is done. We need to install one more component, that is called identity.web.ui. Click on install. Okay, I accept and we are done. So now we are done with the required dependency. So required dependency is all installed in my application. Now the second step, let's follow, go to the next step. Right click on the application, go to the add and add new scaffolded items. Here you will see one more tab, identity. This is because we have installed this Microsoft Identity NuGet package DLLs. So that's why I'm able to see here. Click on add. A pop-up will appear where you need to select some of the icons. Sometimes it may take a minute, and one very interesting thing I have noticed that on the very first beginning it normally failed. So not to worry, if you see some error, then you just need to go ahead and click add once more. So here you can see that a lot of default features are already available. So we are not going to use everyone, we are going to use this login and logout only. Create data context. If it is available, use that one. If not, then click on plus and create. Click on add. Most of the time when you click on add, it's fail. So need not to worry, just click on OK and again click on add. This will be done. This I'm not sure why it's happening, but I have noticed this is happening most of the time. With the very first time it's failed, but when I click on add once more, it generates the code. In the second step, it generated. So now we have done three things. First, we have created app prestation in Azure. Next, we have created one ASP.NET Embassy app. Third, we have installed the required dependency. Fourth one, we have created the scaffoldings items. And if you see that once it is done, you will see another folder called area will be created. It has the identity and some predefined code. You can see here, login, logout, another automatically created. Next step would be to add the information in the app setting.json file. So open this app setting.json file and add Azure information. Azure AD. I would suggest to use the name as Azure AD because once if you are using Azure AD as a name, it is by default. So while configuring the startup.cs, you are not required to add this value. It will automatically pick up. Now we have to provide here some instance URL, client ID, tenant ID, callback URL, and sign out URL. So for that I have already created this one. So just to save the time, I'm copying this one. Mostly the instance ID would remain same, https login.microsoftonline.com. Tenant ID, now go back to your Azure, and if you see here the tenant ID, copy from here and replace. Similarly, go to the Azure app and copy the client ID. Now callback URL, I'm writing this one as signin.oidc and signout.oidc. Let me make it small. So we are done with the setting in the app setting.json files. Now let's save the code. Now the next step to go ahead and make the changes to the startup.cs file. Open the startup.cs files and we have to add some code in this configuration file. This is the piece of code, this is the main code which will be used to redirect to the Azure, do the authentication, get the token from there and authenticate your application to the Azure AD. Similarly, you have to write a piece of code over here. So I've already copied that one, those code here, and I'm copying. I will put this code in my GitHub account and you can copy from there. So first you need to add this one. So now if you see that it's showing some error. So you have to resolve this error by adding the required using statement identity.web authorization. Click on, you're done. See, all those errors are resolved. So now we are done. See here on the very first step, we are adding a service that is Microsoft Identity.web authentication and using the configuration. Here if you see that, if I put a comma over here, you will see that it accepting a second one as well. And if you see that by default, this is the Azure AD. As in my app setting.json, I have used this one Azure AD exactly same. So I need not to enter over here. But if you want to use something else, then you have to put that value over here. So currently I'm not going to make any changes. I have already used Azure AD, so I'm going to change this one. We are near to done the applications. Save it. Now we are left with only one application here. Between app routing and use authorization, we have to call this one use authentication. Save it and we are done. To test the application, Let's do Control F5 or run promptly here. So if everything, oh sorry, one thing is missing, it will throw the mirror. So let me stop this. So once you are done with the coding, you have to open one, you have to do one more setting. Go to the property folder and use the launch setting. From here you have to note down this SSL port. Now go back to the Azure portal and go to the authentication. Open, okay, go to the this one. Open your application. Go to the authentication. Here you have to add those two URL. Those two URL will be called as sign-in URL and callback URL. So click on add platform. Currently you are going to use web, so click on web, and here you have to use https://localhost, and this is my callback URL colon, and from here you have to copy this SSL port 44370 slash signin.oidc. Similarly for callback, sign out URL, copy this one, change this sign in to sign out. Scroll down, you have to select this ID token and configure. So all the settings are done. Go back to the application and run it. Okay, spelling mistake. Go back to your application here and go back to app setting.json. Very interesting. CLINET not, no, CLIENT. Save it, run it. See, it is being redirected to login.microsoftonline.com. Now here you see that it is asking for this app to be registered. So that's why if you are using your official account or your school account, maybe that you don't have access or you don't have permission to add. So at this point it will throw the error. So that's why I request for training purpose use this your personal account only. Otherwise connect with your Active Directory administrator. He will grant you the required permission. This application, this prompt will appear for very first time only, because this is first time it is sending call back to login to microsoftonline.com. Okay, click on accept, and yes, application is working. So we are done with the integrating. Now let's add one more button here that is called log out or sign in, something like that, so that at least we can show that who is currently logged in, and these can be used anywhere. Okay, go ahead, go back, open the application, go to the view, shared, layout, open this layout.cshtml. Okay, and this is the main body portal where most of the content are rendered. It's up to you where do you want to place. If you want to place in the somewhere in the top navigation bar, you can go ahead and add, but here I'm going to add in the registration. Okay, so here let's use something build, that is h3 tag, and use @user dot identity dot name. Save it. Let's rerun the application. Oh, Control F5. Everything look good till now, and here you can see it's giving my logged in account name. Okay, now let's add sign out option. For that, I'm going to add a sign out over here itself. So for sign out, I have already copied some code over here. So let me copy this code just to save some time. It's very self-explanatory. We just need to add ASP controller account, which will go to the account one, and it will call the action sign out, and you can name this area as Microsoft Identity. And from here sign out, or you can type something, you can put anything what you want. I'm putting there log out. Here even if what, you can type something like welcome, save it, do the control F5. As I am already logged in, it is not asking me for to logged in. So now let's go ahead and log out. It is asking that which need to be logged out. Okay, log out, close it, and let me close this one as to avoid any automatic login. Okay, let's rerun the application. Good. Select the account, sign in. You must have noticed that it is not asking for the second two-step authentication, or it not asking for app registration because application is already registered. And here you can see it showing me welcome and this one. Now go ahead and log out, log out. So it'll automatically log out from the application. So that's all about the integrating Microsoft Azure Active Directory with ASP.NET Core MVC application. Thank you everyone. Thank you for time. Do Hello all, welcome back. Today we'll see that how we can use the SAML authentication for single sign-on. So for this training purpose, I would be using Dropbox as an application and Azure as an identity provider. I have already set up most of the things and we'll use that one. So we'll give a walkthrough that how all these steps can be completed. It's not hard. It just requires a little bit for concentration because there are some during configuring there are the chances that we may miss few spelling mistake and something. So let's go ahead and watch carefully. The very first thing is that you need to create a Dropbox business account. So if you are using your company based logged in with that one, if you don't have a Dropbox business account, search for the Dropbox business free trial. Ensure that you are using Dropbox business free trial. Go back and here you will see that the URL dropbox.com/business try. Click here and create your account. I have already created my account. So let me go back and here. So here if you see that this is the Dropbox account. Go back to the Dropbox. So this is my home. I am already logged into Dropbox and I use the same free trial versions. I'm not going to create a new one because it is not advisable to use multiple ones. So I have already created and I'm logged in using that one. So this is the one thing you need to create. Once you are done, you will see an option for the admin console. Okay, one more thing to mention over here. If you are not using the Dropbox business, then you won't be able to set up the SSO single sign-on because single sign-on is supported only in the business account. So go back to the admin menu, go back to the admin console. And once you are in the admin console, go to the setting. And here. So you need to select the single sign-on. Just ignore the setting I have already done here. I will go ahead and explain what are this thing means. Initially, when you are going to use this one, these all field will be blank, which we need to copy from the Azure. I will show you that how step by step how I have completed this one. The very first thing you need to change from here. So here, if you see that there are three options. First one is off. So if you are using this optional as off, you won't be able to implement the single sign-on. Second one is optional. If you are using this optional sign-on method, it means that you would be able to use the single sign-on of SAML and even the password as well. So I would advise go ahead and use this optional one. But if you are using the corporate account, where most of the, if you are setting up the corporate account, go ahead and use the required only. Because in case of your business account or official account, normally it is single sign-on. So if you are doing this practically in live environment, go ahead and use this required one. No more changes need to be done on this screen as of now. Go ahead and make the changes save. See, mark sure that you are making it save. So I'm not saving this one. I'm leaving this one as a optional so that in case some issue I can log in using the username and password. So now you are done with the setup of the single sign-on. Next thing will be that go back to the members and invite the team member. So here if you see that I have created two accounts, I would be using the second one on Microsoft.com for single sign-on. This is because if you see that the user the email ID is Bhargav Pandey at the rate some number and on Microsoft.com. So if you see that on Microsoft.com, it means these are the corporate account, or I would say it's not the personal account. So better to use single sign-on with this type of account only. If you have your personal account, go ahead and use your office account because your office account are already single sign-on enabled. The live.com is my personal account, which I normally used for email ID and other activity as well. So if you are setting this one, your personal account, you may face some a issue. I will come back to that one and will show you that how what are the problem you are facing. So better go ahead and add one more user, invite a user with the email ID of the official email ID or corporate email ID. Once you set up the corporate email ID, you will receive an email in your account. So let me show you that how the email appear. So see, I'm logged in using my corporate account like. So if you see that once user has been added, you will receive something like invitation. You just need to click on join, and once you click on join, if I'm clicking here, it is already logged in, so it won't give me anything. It will just directly logged in. But if you are log into the first time, or if you are accepting the invite, it will ask for your username and password. That's it only. It won't ask anything. It will just ask for user ID and password because you are using adding a single sign-on. Now you are done. So your box account is set up and you have successfully added the user. Here you can see that I have two users. One, it's my logged in account for which I'm the admin, and I have added the second one. So as of now, as the first step, no more setup is required on this one. Let's go back and make the changes to the your Azure account. For that, go back, go to the Azure, portal.azure.com, and logged in with your account. See here, I'm logged in here using my personal account, and I will add the another user as a secondary user. Go back and search for the enterprise application. So if you're going to use any single sign-on or implement single sign-on, you need to go for enterprise application. Click on the enterprise application, go and create a new application. Here if you see that Azure already provided some of the pre-configured setting. You can using the AWS, Google Cloud, Oracle, SAP, and if you scroll down, you will find some other applications as well. So here if you see that there is the box and Dropbox business. I'm not going to use the box. So make sure that you are selecting the Dropbox business. Click on the Dropbox business, make some name, change the names if you want, and go ahead and create. Once you created the application, you would be able to see your application listed here. Click on this application, go to the overview. So once you have created the a Dropbox, it will redirect you to this page. Now if you see that it's already providing a lot of step-by-step guide how we can configure. The very first step is assign user and group. Here this is the first step where we are going to use the user who would be able to access your Dropbox using single sign-on. Go ahead, click on assign user and group. Add user. By default none selected, so click on the none selected, and from here you will be able to find out the list of user. Currently if you see that I'm using the second one. This is while something like corporate account. I just try to create a replica of this corporate account on Microsoft.com. This is already added, so if I'm going to add, it will give an error that user is already assigned. See, assignment failed for one user. This is because the user is already added. If you want to see, go ahead and click and see. No, not this one, the above one. See, just make a note of this ID. Okay, go back to home page. So now the user is added. Go back to the overview. You are done with the assigning the user. Next step is to set up the single sign-on. Go ahead and click on the set up single sign-on. This is interesting, and be very carefully you have to look at here. If you see that all the 5 steps which was mentioned in this previous screen, 1, 2, provision user, a third one, 4 conditional access, and 5th self-service, and then test, is already listed here. Basic configuration, attribute claims, SAML certificate, and other activity. The very first thing when you are logged in, all these information would be blank. Go ahead, click on the edit. The very first thing would be to give the identifier name. So if you see that I have given the name Dropbox as identifier, let me show you why I have given the Dropbox. If I go back to the overview page, you will see that name is Dropbox. So this name and this name should match. Otherwise, while logged in, this may the Azure AD will throw some error. Okay, go back, add the Dropbox. In the reply URL, just type https www.dropbox.com or whatsoever your reply URL. Now, if you see the sign in URL, now you need again go back to your Dropbox. So let me open the Dropbox. Go back to this setting once more and go back to the single sign-on. And here you will see the SSO sign-in URL. Click on the copy link. This will copy the single sign-on URL. So if you see this is single sign-on URL, go to your Azure and paste it here. See. Now we are going to configure our Dropbox for single sign-on. So all these steps need to be followed very carefully. Sign in URL and done. These are the optional, so leave it. Once you are done, click on save and close. So you will see that first step is configure. You have configured your SAML. Next step is attribute and claims. So this is mostly used to give the username, surname, email ID, user principal. If you want to read out and display these information somewhere on your Dropbox account, then you can use this one. Now again, go back to the next one. If you see here, this is automatically created some value. These are the SAML certificate value. It automatically generates the SAML certificate. What you need to do, go ahead, click on the certificate and download. So I have already downloaded. This one. So I will use this certificate to upload. Now what you need to go, you need to again go back to your Dropbox, scroll up, and here you will see the X5.509 certificate. Click on the certificate, select this one and upload. Click on save. Certificate is done. So till now, if you see that we have used these two only, this certificate and copy link. We have some more configuration need to be done. These are the most again more important things. So let's see how we can get this information. See, it has some value. So you are done with the Dropbox. Let's go back to your Azure account. Go to the fourth step. As I have already installed the secure sign-on browser, that extension. If you see that here, there is an extension. This one. It is not mandatory to install this one. While training, I have installed because this will give me the secure sign-on. Otherwise, my current session would be used to logged in, and I won't be able to, there is no media that I can confirm that yet yes, it is using single sign-on. Maybe that I have already logged in, so it may pick that one. So for that you can go ahead and download this extension and add to the browser, but it is not mandatory. Next one is most important thing is the fifth step. Here you will see that configurations URL. Now if you see that login URL and logout URL, and if you go back to the your SSO, okay, Dropbox, okay, identity provider sign in URL and identity provider sign out URL. So from here you need to copy this one, click on copy, go to the identity provider, click on and paste it here. Similarly, go to the logout, select here and click. So now you are done. Now go to the, if you want to test, click on the test. This will open a Windows. Here while testing, this extension will be useful. So for I have already installed the extension, so it will automatically logged in using the extension as a secured. So let me click on the test sign in. See here. Otherwise, as I am already logged into Dropbox, it won't ask. Okay, so here it is asking. Click on this on Microsoft.com because I'm going to use this one. Perfect. Here, if you see that, it is able to securely login. If you want to download this SAML request, if you want to download this SAML responses, you can download. And here, if you see that, these are the identifier. These are given the format, values, and this is the token names. What the token and their values. Fit token single sign-on certificate. These are the certificate value which we have already uploaded. Okay. Now close this. Now it ensures that everything is working fine. Now let's go back and see how the single sign-on work. For that, I'm going to let me go back to the Dropbox. I'm going to log out. So I'm logged out, and let me remove this screen from here. Okay. So now here we are going to test how the single sign-on work. For that, let's use the another account, which was the on Microsoft.com. Let's delete this one. Okay, this one. Now if you see that, once I'm clicking here and click on the contents here, if Dropbox is single sign-on enable, it will automatically redirect me to the Azure portal for login. Otherwise, what you can do, you can click on the login Dropbox credential and go back and type. This is why, because while setting the single sign-on, I have selected the optional sign-in option is optional. If you have used the required, you won't be able to see these last options. Okay, click on the continue and see redirected to the my Azure account. I'm selecting this one because I'm going to log into this Dropbox using this account, and here we are done. Now if you see that, you are able to log into the Dropbox using SAML. So this is all about the SAML authentication. For this training purpose, I have used some trial period for the Dropbox as a business and Azure as a simulation of corporate account. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching.